All right, Vicky and Charisse, welcome to Get Shit Done.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We are so excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
They were so patient with me because whatever's happening with the stars and the moon, my technology is a mess today. So grateful for both of them, but also really excited that they're here. This is, I think, our second time having the co-founders together, which is exciting. So I'm really excited about this conversation. But before we kick it off, I'd like to do a quick check-in with folks. So if you could describe in one word how you are feeling in your business in this moment, knowing it could change literally in 60 minutes, what would that word be? Charisse, let's start with you.
Optimistic. I mean, we've just had so much press and opportunity just in the last year, and I'm sure we're going to dive into it a little bit more, but the future is very bright for Dapper Boy.
I love it. What about
I would say right now, fearless, and that has not always been the case. I'd say right now, I feel like I belong in the room more than ever, and that's a really exciting feeling.
what did you feel for? Because now you see that you belong in the room. What did it feel like you not belong in the room? Like
I would say, yeah, just like second guessing myself. And, obviously, we've been on this capital raising journey for quite some time and maybe talking to the wrong people for a while. And
Mhm.
so now I feel like we're starting to find our people. I'm finding my voice, really
Mhm.
realizing that our brand, has so much impact, and I'm that leader in the voice. And I've come to terms with that now. And I'm more, just excited about being in this space. And it's just so exciting.
I love you mention this because one of my mentors who we've had on the podcast has this amazing nonprofit she scaled in Chicago. And for years, she was one of the founders. And for years, she was behind the scenes. A lot of people didn't know she was one of the founders. And it wasn't until her co founder at the time decided to leave. And she served, especially her co founder is white, she's a woman of color. She serves the community, they serve brown folks. And she said this woman pulled her to the side and was like, went off on her, was like, how dare you not let yourself be seen? How
Mhm.
did we not know for years you were a
Mhm.
part of this organization? So
Mhm.
I'm really happy that you called that out because I think so often women are socialized to to be humble or whatever the hell that looks like.
Hmm.
So I
Right.
love that you're taking up space. Awesome. That
Thank
is
you.
awesome. So I, I'd like to take it back as well to prior to you even topping into business, because I think context really matters when we are thinking about and looking at how other people scaled, because everyone's starting at different starting points. So I'd love for you both to just give me an idea of, how did we even get into entrepreneurship? What did that look like?
Uh, yeah, I guess it was. I've always been like, even as a kid, like coming up with a million ideas under the sun. But it really came, I'm speaking on my own behalf right now. Personally, I know that Sharice and I share a lot of these things here, but just being the underdog in situations. And I think that a strength of mine personally is seeing the best in other people, not necessarily myself during that time, but and I say that time being like right before starting Dapper Boy. um Dapper Boy started because of my own personal like struggle shopping in the men's department, not feeling like I belonged when I had long hair shopping in the women's department. It was a totally different person at that point, different confidence, different being. And then it was, when I came to terms with, being a lesbian and coming out and cutting my hair and going through that process, shopping in the men's department actually ended up being the most confident I have ever been, even though it was the worst situation, socially awkward, going to the men's department, like which fitting room do I go into, getting the socially awkward like stares and things like that. But that's how
Mhm.
kind of the journey began. Before I was a manager in management and casino properties, I wore suits during that time every day, and they just never fit my body properly. And so, really, we decided to take that problem and do something about it. And I know that Charisse can kind of speak to that as well and what I was going through from her perspective, during that time.
I joke around all the time about this version of Vicky that you see now is like Vicky 3.0, because when we first started dating, she was wearing these very ill-fitting clothes, and I love fashion. So when I saw her, I was like, okay, we gotta clean this up. I went to the store, I started shopping for her. I just was super excited that I was like, okay, I can solve this. Boom, here's some clothes, try it on, I got you. But as she started trying things on, I mean, I saw her face fall. And it wasn't a matter of me picking the wrong clothes, because that didn't happen, but it was a matter of like the clothes not fitting her. And so, me, setting these high expectations for her, thinking that I was going to be able to solve these problems, like Vicky being a plus size person, being at the top of the size chart for like a Nordstrom or a Macy's, but then our other option is big and tall, and then the shirts go up to her knees. It just didn't work. And so I love that we were able to work together to find a solution. Prior to Dapper Boy, this is kind of a funny behind the scenes story. When we first started dating, I actually had this like business idea of having a platform where straight girls could find their gay boy BFF. And so when I wanted to
I
start this
love.
business, it's so fun,
I
right?
love
It
it.
was called it was called Hey Girl Hey. And when I first started it, I knew that I needed to like implore people and their different strengths. And so Vicky had marketing experience. I had reached out to her through mutual friends, and we had started like a business relationship together. As
First.
that's first, yeah, and as that had started, Vicky fell madly in love with me. The
Of
business fell
course.
by the wayside, and you know, um, we ended up the we that didn't come to fruition, but we always have had a foundation before we started our relationship in business, and I think that's why we work so well together.
I love this because I always, we've had people on here before that have co-founders who are their partners. And
Hmm.
I always tell myself, and maybe this is an outdated, story. I think now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, I could maybe make it work. Like maybe if we had like another business together, but I don't know if I can work with you all day because I know that like I'm really very Leo stubborn. Like if I
Yes,
see something, I'm like, that's what it is. Like fight me,
yes,
bro. Like I'm not
yes,
like
yes,
I'm very
yes.
one of my favorite sayings is like, be stubborn on the vision, flexible on the details. I don't really give a fuck about the details. If it gets done, it gets done. Do it with integrity, do it,
Yes.
ethically. But I can see so clearly the
Mhm.
vision of where to go. I'm very much a CEO that way. And so I'm wondering, how do you all balance sharing a vision together?
It's funny that you mentioned the Leo bit because we are Leos to the T. I'm August 5th. She's August 4th.
I'm
We've been
August 5th.
working
Are you
together.
serious?
Oh,
Oh
That's
yes.
my
amazing.
gosh.
Yes.
That's
Okay, we got three
incredible.
Leos here on this right
This is
now. That's
great. A lot
wild.
of fire.
Yes.
Yes, all the fire. And I think, with this business in particular, it works and it was because it started with my personal journey. I don't know
Mhm.
if this would work as well with other stuff, but again, starting as business and not dating was probably the answer for us because
Mhm.
we came into it, not with that romantic feeling. It was like, what do we need to do to get the job
We
done?
got to get
And that
shit
was the
done.
mindset. Yes, no,
Yep.
that really was
Period.
it.
Yes.
Mhm.
No, really. And it's interesting because Charisse was just like a boss. Like she was just like, boom, she's very good at making decisions quickly. I'm a little bit more analytical, but we still both move quickly, in overall in general. And we have a lot of ideas and a lot of fire, but we really divide and conquer. And so
Mhm.
that's how we have been able to pull it off.
So can you walk us through, and I think this is helpful for even people that have co-founders that aren't their romantic partners. All of it is
Mhm.
dating for marriage, honestly. Like once you're
Mhm.
partners, like co-founders, whatever it is, like it's like
Right.
marriage to me,
Yep.
or dating or whatever you want to liken it to. How did you all decide what the roles would be to divide and conquer? And did that change over time? Because I think that's something where in the early stages, what the company needs, you might be like, okay, this is what you do and here's what I do. But it kind of sounded like now, Vicky, you stepped into another role, which is, I think, very important for a lot of businesses. We sometimes get caught up in titles versus actually what are my skill sets and what does the business need at this moment, and where do I best fit in? And it takes a lot of setting your ego aside to say, well, which one of us can? I think of like the founders of Google. They've both swapped off on being CEO because maybe one of them in a certain time of the business had a skill set to navigate that moment. And then the other one had the opposite. And then as the company grew and morphed, the other person was a better fit. So how did that look like for both of you?
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure. I think what's good too is that with the romantic relationship also, there's no pleasantries, there's no beating around a bush. Like we just have to get shit done. So like there's none of that weirdness. But I think really we couldn't both be full-time at first. And so this was kind of my thing for a while. But Charisse, it was still always Charisse's thing. She was always just in the background more so because she had to support us and work full time, So throughout this whole time period, when we started, we launched on Kickstarter. We did that together, day in, day out. The very first product, Charisse was the fit model for. Like, we went to all the events, everything. And she was still having a full-time job. And I was doing Postmates, Uber, like whatever I could, to bring in whatever income. I mean, we sold, but not sold. We had a 4-bedroom apartment scaled down to a 1-bedroom, 630 square foot, like terrible little place to make this happen, to be able to let go of my full-time job, which is wild. And so for a long time, for years up until 2019, and this is a long journey. We have twin 5-year-olds, by the way, right now in this mix as well.
Wow.
So Charisse was working full-time, and then we had the twins, and then she was a stay-at-home mom until they were able to go to preschool. So she came into the picture
working
full-time.
during like all naps. I was like pumping out content as much as possible. Like I was involved in all of the product launch meetings. I was doing fabric swatches, like picking all those things out. So a lot of the impactful decisions I was making, and I was always in the background, but we just had to fit it in. It was crazy. And then once they were old enough to ship off to preschool, like I went full time. Yeah. I was like, okay, we can have them in full time. Like it is time for me to come in. And I think it was perfect timing because that's where we really needed to scale. Like this is where Vicky started to need to even enter the room, right? Like she needed to have those conversations. And I'll let Vicky talk about that a little bit more and how I've been able to step into my role.
Yeah, and I think we realized that we should always be fundraising, and that's really where I left kind of the marketing role. And again, marketing role is in like we have all the hats. It's the two of us. We have 2 part-time employees, so like we wear all the hats. And so for me to let go of a lot of things and have her come in full-time in those roles was definitely a morph. But she picked up so quickly, and actually faster than me, because again, she makes faster decisions. So when it came to marketing specifically, or taking over like operations and our team and like support and what that looks like, it luckily happened very quickly and smoothly.
And I think it's like, we're so lucky because, they talk about like you've found the golden nugget if you can find a job where you have impact and you can also make money. But like the creme de la creme is when you can do it with your partner also, and they support you. And we definitely have that. So Vicky, like, as you know, fundraising is a full-time job. So being able to walk into it and learn all the roles, everything that Vicky's been doing, she can step back and literally, travel, and do different things. And I'm able to do the day-to-day, which again is like so awesome that I have been in the background since the very beginning, but I've also been able to pick up and just go, get shit done full time.
Yeah, this is super important because I remember again, it's about like based on the needs of the business at the moment, what does your role need to be? And I remember my last company, because we were VC backed, we were fundraising all the time. The first probably 5 years, it was me and my co-founder fundraising together, but we grew our team. We had a sales team, we had marketing, we had developers, and it was like, we had another co-founder who was our CTO, but it was like, you need leave him alone so he can build stuff. Like, he doesn't need to manage the day to day. So as we started bringing on all these people, it was like, one of us needs to stay back. Because if we're both like out there fundraising together, like shit at the home front is going awry. So that makes a lot of sense. Kind of just deciding, okay, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that. And it looks different at different stages. So you started already talking about the pain point you all were solving for with Dapper Boi. And so it's from Vicky's personal experience, but you know, a lot of founders will come up with ideas or it's like, oh, this is cool for me. How did you learn that the market really needed this? What did that process look like?
Yeah, I mean, when we started on Kickstarter, it happened quickly. We, surpassed our goal. And it started with more like women that looked like me, like more masculine presenting with the short hair, and that was great. And that's where we had thought at that point. But then it was kind of wild what happened from there. We were having people from all walks of life. We had, cisgendered straight men coming to us saying, hey, I have the same exact problem as you. Like, I got a big booty, these clothes are not made to fit me. I got to buy 2 sizes bigger to get around my butt. And then everything is unflattering at that point. We have, straight, more feminine women saying, yeah, how come I don't have deep pockets? Like, why is this it shouldn't be revolutionary to have deep pockets.
Exactly. Pockets are everything.
It's everything, and so like those things, like we thought through those functional details that are just a struggle for everyone. The chest gap situation. So we added like hidden snaps behind our button placket to prevent chest gap. And that is for a wide range of people. And then also, again, like the plus size folks, just like me, it's just, I don't fit in. Even right now, today, I did a little, test run where I went to a mainstream department store and I was the highest size, but still could only button my button up to my chest and let it out, like it's a style, but it's not. I go to the plus size store and it's like not the coolest stuff. Let's be real.
Oh, it's so frumpy.
No, it's bad. It's bad. And then like, it's like double the price. And then on top of it, like the length is like down to my knees still. So like these challenges we're struggling for all these different people. And I think we just started asking the question that, you walk into a department store and we all have these 2 options. It's men or women based on this gender, and then that's where you're supposed to shop. And this is like embedded with all these societal rules and norms that we don't question and we don't think about. And so that's what we're starting. We're asking these questions and then it just hits people like, oh yeah, this should be based on body type and style preference. That's it. Yeah. So that's the story. Right.
Oh my goodness. My last company was in the fashion tech space and we focused on fit, starting with denim. And we were in the men's market first. And it was very often people that are like, I got a big ass, big thighs, big gap in the waist and all the things. So totally understand, because most of these options on the market are just trash, and it's forcing people to then think they have to change their bodies in order to fit into these molds. So
exactly,
you did a crowdfunding campaign. So when you launched that, what was the goal, and did you all make your goal when you launched the Kickstarter?
Yeah, so our goal originally was just for our very first production of jeans. It was slim straight jeans at the time. It was like 18,000. We hit 26,000. And what was cool about that is that first year, we sold out of the production quickly. And then we were left with like, now what? I don't want to really do Kickstarter again, but I really like this pre-order model and we're too early to get any kind of capital here. And so we ended up taking kind of a similar business model to our own website. So we were in the background of, developing jeans, that first button up at the same exact time, because that was also those 2 products, jeans and button ups, for me was my life. And so when we decided to either stop and quit altogether or really keep this thing going, is to take that same business model to our site, launching our first button up. And so what we did was we launched it at what we call like intro pricing. So a little bit like up to 25, 30% off. And we'd say, hey, everyone, we're launching this product. We'd have, have samples made, have our friends wear them, make fun, relatable content and videos, launch it and say, get in, we're only doing this for 3 weeks, get in now. So all these people were just getting in on the campaign. We would take their dollars, pre-order dollars, and then give them to the manufacturer, and the product would be delivered in 6 to 12 weeks. Well, that first product, that we were just trying this out with, did like 30 grand in those 3 weeks. And so for us, like to go from like a year ago at like, doing this whole Kickstarter thing. And, I remember being so excited for that 10K, and this just happening all of a sudden, people are really interested in building out an entire wardrobe. Things changed very quickly.
Yeah.
And then we were really launching this full-fledged everyday line.
Got it. So then you both went from, it sounds like the pre-order model started with Kickstarter, but you continued on. Are you all still doing that today?
So we kind of, not really. That's not the goal. It was never meant to be the goal. It really was made for us to test our products. So we started back in 2015. We've been doing this for, going on 9 years now. And we did this all the way through 2021. So again, imagine now, this was 2017, I think at this point when we launched, started launching more of these pre-order campaigns, restocking jeans that way too as a new pre-order campaign, just really developing our base products and then just launching new colors. And we've been doing that for years now, but again, never made to be a permanent thing. In the meantime, we were like, okay, we need to fundraise so we can get ahead of inventory. Now we know the demand, we're selling out every single time of like the minimum orders that we needed. And so what happened was for us, it was 2019, we hit, I think it was like $540,000 in sales that year. In 2020, we hit $1 million. And so that was a big jump for us. In 2021, it was 1.2. And so things were moving in the right direction. And then for us, like so many other businesses, those COVID delays on a pre-order business model just do not work. So 2022 for us is where we really had to become real leaders, pivot, shift, all the things to stay in business. Imagine doing these pre-order campaigns. At this point, we were doing them every other week, launching new campaigns. And 2021, the end of that year for us, we were not able to fulfill some of them because they were just backed up 6, 7, 8 months. So 2022, we could not ethically launch any new product campaigns. So a business that's based on a pre-order model, launching products every week, could not launch a single product. So we had to scale back operations. We had not very much inventory to sell. We had to get crafty with just the two of us, scaling back all outside services, anything to just keep the business afloat. We ended up selling our home, all of the things that happened in 2022. So no, I mean, that's a very long answer of answering your question here, but no, we are not still doing that today. We did raise capital. We ended up on Shark Tank. We didn't get a shark. We got an anchor investor though. And now we're able to start slowly getting ahead of inventory, which is so exciting.
That's awesome. So and again, it's like, it's that saying, like, what got you here won't get you there. I always put a caveat. I'm just like, things like passion and kindness and ethics will always get you there. Like that should always be the standard. But
Yes.
maybe strategies you use, you outgrow them as you're scaling. Sometimes it just gets broken if you try to scale it up. So what did that pivot look like when you're like, we can't depend on the supply chain because we're going to lose happy customers? What does the model now look like?
Yeah, and I'd say we're still in it right now. We're work in progress. We're getting ahead, one production at a time, but this is where it will look like. And we've tested it before too. So we have core products, like I mentioned, those jeans, button-up shirts, chino pants. That the goal is to have those products in stock at all times. And then from there, the FOMO we created with these limited release productions was everything. And we did run a test, and this is the great part about all of this. Like these tests and these mistakes were not mistakes; they were intentional for us. Because like for when we aired on Shark Tank back in April, we felt like we had to have a fully stocked, like ready to go website. We're going to have all this traffic, and that's great. But like at the same time, there's something to be said about like having too much inventory on our site ready to go. You know, the FOMO that we were able to create with just like these limited release launches on seasonal products is our answer. So going back to your question, we will be launching these limited release productions like we were back in 2021, but also having core product in stock. So we're never like out of inventory, but like constantly launching. So these people are coming back over and over again.
This takes me back because a huge reason I always empathize with founders that are in like retail, CPG, things that tend to be heavy, like capital. Like you need to be able to invest in inventory and things like that. The reason my last company was able to get funding is because we position ourselves more of a tech company and we only kept samples in stock. And so investors are like, oh, cool. But a lot of retail companies really struggle to raise because, you know, I always liken it when people don't understand retail. Think of every summer when you go to Nordstrom or Macy's. Macy's actually, everything's on. I would never buy anything full price at Macy's because it's always going to be on sale in like 2 weeks. But they train consumers to buy things on sale because what happens is those blowouts are because they couldn't get rid of the inventory. And that's one of the biggest fears for investors. So how were you all, A, what type of investors do you have? B, how were you all able to convince them to invest in your vision? Because a lot of institutional investors, a lot of investors in general are frightened by inventory.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. And I think that, so going back, we ran a equity crowdfunding campaign on Start Engine back in 2019, 2020. So those are a lot of customers. And that's our best investor right there, is our customers, because they know our product, they love our product, they come back for our product. So there's that. We raised, I think it was 284,000 at that time. And then as for, you know, on the current safe note that we're raising, we have private equity, our anchor investor from Alternative Wealth Partners. And then we also have some customers on our safe note. So again, angel investors. We have a very small check from VC right now. We're talking to everybody, you know, at the same time. But I am finding it really is more about the mission. It's like our social impact that people are investing in, you know. And so like the people that are actually writing the checks, it hasn't been a question of our inventory, because the inventory we're moving so quickly and always selling out of. It's really our mission and where they see, you know, on board with our vision of the future.
And our anchor investor is actually our target customer. So when she's part of the LGBT community, and so when she had heard that Dapper Boi was looking, was fundraising, it was a pretty easy conversation. And so back in 2015, I always say that like Vicky and our friends created viral content before that was a thing. And so we made it very relatable. You know, when we were doing product launches, we didn't make it like a very serious thing. We tried to bring some humor into it. And so we got this really strong following on social media very quickly. And throughout the years, as people, you know, decided to try our clothes, we ended up, I think right now our repeat customer rate is 51%. And so as we continue to launch the same products, it's the same products, maybe we'll have a few different new colors, but it's backed by like customer reviews, because they know it's a tried and true product. Like our chinos, they're always going to fit the same, they're always going to be great, but hey, I want it in that new color. And so and now then we can leverage those reviews onto our social platforms or on paid ads, and people are like, wow, this is a tried and true product, I need it.
This is such a good point, because in fashion particularly, newness is huge. That's why a lot of companies want to put out a lot of new stuff. But to your point, it's not always about we need a new style in this. Sometimes they just want a new color in the thing they know that works. So it sounds like you are balancing between having some newness, but also we're going to go deeper into the products we know our customers love. Can you walk us through a little more of how you are creating that FOMO? It sounds like part of it is through those, you know, limited releases, but also, you know, how are you getting your customers to keep coming back to you, keep having that FOMO, and probably spreading the word? I'm guessing it's not, you're getting new customers too, and they're probably, the current customers are probably fueling a lot of that. So what does that look like?
I think at the same time of like not having inventory, how frustrating that is. People see that and they know that, they're coming back and they realize again, when we're launching a product, they're not going to get in it. Like it will sell out. We did a test run of actually having stock and ready to ship t-shirt packs. It was the smallest order, 330 packs. We sold 265 of those within just over 48 hours because people are just like, hey, like, they're going to sell out. And so people have been passing that along, like get in on Dapper Boi's campaigns now, they will sell out. And I think a big portion of part of this too, and we've seen this with other brands. And so we're excited to try this. We're starting to, and I'll let Charisse speak to the influencer side, but like the goal again is like getting this like army of Dapper Boi folks or influencers to get them product in hand before a launch and sending it out to them, letting them try the product, talk about the product, count down to the product, and then having this big, flash, like, here's the launch, like, let's go. And then everyone will get in. So that's what we're planning to do with these limited release.
So I work very closely with our influencers, and because we're still a small brand and still fundraising, we don't have the capital to be able to do big payouts for influencers. So when we send it to them, we really try to create a relationship with them. And we base it on the promise of like, even though they're an influencer, they still have problems finding the right clothes. And so we want them to speak from a very genuine place about their struggle and sharing their story. So, it's the art of storytelling through influencers. And that's what it is, because they have trust through their followers. Their followers are our target market. So when we send clothes out to influencers, again, we build that trust with them. They try on the clothes and they're able to give like such incredible reviews on their platforms. And that's been such a game changer for us. And again, it's those authentic relationships that we've been able to build. We have quite a few influencers that have turned into our good friends. We also did a Dapper Boi model contest because it's really cool, like the community that we've built. A lot of our customers feel very drawn to our story because they go through the same struggle. So we've been very vulnerable in our storytelling as well. So I think 2 years ago we did a Dapper Boi model contest and we had almost 1,000 applicants. I mean, daily we get DMs, how can I be a Dapper Boi model? Because we feature plus size people of color, like not the typical what a model looks like. Yes, trans folks, non-binary. And so they're excited to be the next Dapper Boi model to be featured because we're showing everyday people really elevating their confidence through clothing. So yeah, I think it's really leveraging our customers and influencers in an authentic way that's been so helpful to us.
Yeah, what I love that you're calling out here, and I say this to founders all the time, is when we think about marketing, people love to come up with weird language and jargon that I'm like, who says that? And I'm like, the best form of marketing is coming from exactly your customer. So my favorite thing with Get Shit Done is our target. Whenever they find us, they're like, oh my God, you are speaking all of the things. Like, this is my life. And I'm like, that is by design. The only marketing we do is literally taking from the testimonials they gave us, from the things they input when they do our surveys, whatever it is. We aren't trying to change what they said to make it look pretty and, whatever, like a nice bow. I'm taking exactly your jargon and I'm putting it everywhere. Because a lot of times we try to retroactively get our customers to come to us. And it's like, no. You need to meet them where they're at. So you need to tell those stories. You need to communicate with the language that they would use. And then it also reminds me of Fenty. Like Fenty blew up because you have, Rihanna, who, yes, she's still the face, but she also has, like, to me, really helped. And I know she's not the first brand, but at scale, really redefined what fabulous looked like. Fabulous was every shade, every shape, and in beauty that was rare. You would always see skinny chicks who looked very European, right? European features where she had everyone. And so you all started talking a little bit to this already, is you have built an army, a community around this. And I see so many brands, everyone, there's buzzwords, authenticity, community, blah, blah, blah. People half-ass it. A lot of times people think, oh, if I have a group, that's my community, and then you don't add any value. So can you walk us through, how did you build your community? Like, what did that process look like?
I think it really was just resonating with people and being real. And I think a big part of it, honestly, was adding our personal like vulnerability to this. So like pointing out, like our very first videos that were working so well was like showcasing a problem. Like, do you ever have this problem? What about this? You know, showing my own personal struggle, which is a vulnerable thing, and putting it out there and just resonating with folks, and people writing to us feeling like they are our friends, and they are. They have turned into that. And so that's what it's like, yes, authenticity for real. You know, it's like real connections and real relationship. It's all about the connecting. You know, and Charisse and I right now, we're part of this documentary called Show Her the Money. It's about female funders and founders, you know, going through the journey of all of this. And we put out, you know, that, I mean, they were recording us during the selling of the home and the craziness of it all, but those are the stories. Like when we're at screenings, they're like lining up to chat, because it's like, wow, I've been through that. You know, if only 2% of all women are getting, of all venture capital is going to women, like the 98% here is like more resonating with our stories than those success ones, you know? So it's like twofold. It's like, yes, showing the journey of the problem, but it's also like, as a community, like, how can we make this brand a real thing so that we all are validated and we all belong?
I think that we're kind of coming up to a place in our journey where it's not just about sharing our Dapper Boi journey, it's our entrepreneurial journey. So again, like Vicky was saying with Show Her the Money, my biggest fear on going on Shark Tank, being a mom and wanting to protect my family, I mean, you know, when we went on Shark Tank, we had to share that we only had $100 to our name. We barely had gas money to get there. And then we had to share like, oh my gosh, we're selling the home. And that was so hard for me to make that decision. It was like, I was at a fork in the road. Like, am I going to protect my family and want to keep the home? Or am I going to be a founder and do what's best also for my family and decide to sell our home because that's our biggest asset? So when we went on Shark Tank and we got vulnerable and we shared these stories that just felt so like, made me feel so vulnerable, so transparent, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is the right move. And then we went on Show Her the Money, and they went into our home, they heard and saw everything. There was a point when Vicky and I looked at each other and we said, through all of this struggle, I know that we're not the only entrepreneurs, but we have to share our story, because this has to show other entrepreneurs that if you push through the hard times, there are going to be successful times. And if you literally can say that you will put everything out there for your business and give it 100%, I mean, there's like a greater reward with the greater, what is that? Like great reward with a great risk, whatever the saying is. Yes.
I
Yes.
love that you're bringing this up. And I left instead. So there's all these things that so many people go through, no one's talking about. So I love forefront. So what I would love to get into now is what to you, when you look at, you know, your scale and how you started scaling, how did we get there? Like, what were the things happening in the business at the same time where you're like, everything just started clicking?
I would say for us, it was 2021 and having those results. I think our best month, that was when we did 1.2, was $185,000. We were on fire. And we knew also during this time we needed help, so it's like being able to realize that and delegate tasks and find the right people. So like for us, a copywriter and he's a cis straight male, but super, feminist also. And so we had a few copywriters that we tried, but he really grabbed our brand voice, so like having these like key players, a PR team, things like that is when we added to the mix here. And then like we were just starting to be amplified in this way that we were like, okay, we can really do this thing and scale this business to where we need to go. So it's like finding those right key players in this. And again, we're small, we have to make these decisions of where we should spend. Every little dollar counts here, but we felt in our minds like that brand voice and amplifying that was like the next big thing that we need to do to scale.
So then when you look at, because why we have Get Shit Done, the podcast, is really about redefining what scale looks like. It is not just being a unicorn, which I don't even know if I believe that should exist. But it's about how do we decide what scale looks like and feels good to us as founders? What does scaling our impact look like? So if you look at where you are today and where you're trying to go with Dapper Boi, what does scaling impact with this business look like to both of you?
Okay, so this is a big question here, but our main goal is to go mainstream. A lot of people try to kind of pigeonhole us into this like niche LGBTQ brand, but we are so much more than that. Clothing does not have gender, like the fabric doesn't have gender. And so it's so important to be seen in mainstream, for me to be normalized to go shopping wherever I want. So like we see us as in scaling as like the next Levi's of non-binary fashion. Like we will be the next staple brand. There's a lot of like these gender neutral companies or lines that are out there, but it's like oversized, kind of sweatshirts and things like that right now. But it's really about fit and fitting in, both metaphorically and actually here. So that's our goal here. And I think that for us, it's all about the social impact. If over 50% of Gen Z is shopping outside of their gender, like there really is no better time for us, than right now. I mean, we're making impact as in like people are telling us they were able to get the job they never thought they could get because of the confidence that they have. Yeah, I know Charisse received a story from a mother too.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, I think I'm so passionate about what we do because coming, into this as a mom now, my heart would break if my child felt like they didn't have somewhere where they felt like they belonged. There was a mom that just reached out and said that their child absolutely felt suicidal prior to this because they felt that they didn't belong. But now that they found a brand like Dapper Boi, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Is like the visibility and representation of a brand like ours. As far as scalability and what I see for the future of Dapper Boi, I mean, like we're jeans, we're button ups, but how can we expand that? Like I think, working with Vicky, we both have visions for the brand to be more of a lifestyle. Like, what does a Dapper Boi smell like? What are some consumables that we could get into? Like, maybe like cologne, maybe, I don't know. There's just so many things that we've talked about and expanding the brand because we want to be a one-stop shop where someone feels comfortable in their confidence with our brand.
I love that. So based on where you are today in the business, what does support look like from the folks listening in to support you in getting to that impact you want to make?
Yeah, I think it's sharing the brand. Everything's on social media. Like we're moving. This is not just a clothing brand. It's really a movement. It's a social impact movement. So, going to our website, supporting, trying our stuff, sharing it on social media, sharing it with people that would resonate with this. We all know somebody that feels like they don't fit in. I think that's the best way.
I think it's like even a step further than that. It's like Vicky always talks about connections and connections to the right people. We've listened to your podcast and we're so blown away by some of the founders. And it's like you know, connecting founders with other founders. That's why we wanted to share our story, but we also would love to connect with other founders that have been in our shoes. You know, CPG is hard to get into, but there are those unicorn brands or those brands that have, you know, broken the mold. I mean, we're a success story. We have 51% repeat customer rate. We're, you know, one of the top Shopify stores. We have the numbers to prove it. Connections are key when fundraising, or even being able to founder to founder. It can be a lonely journey. And so being able to connect with another founder is so impactful for Vicky on those hard days.
Amazing. So where can people on the connection front connect with you?
Yeah.
So our website, go ahead.
Yeah. So we're dapperboi.com, or we're at Dapper Boi on Instagram, Dapper Boi Squad, and it's Boy, B-O-I, Squad on TikTok. And then we're really sharing our entrepreneurial journey as a couple, business partners in business and partners in life. So we started an Instagram called Meet the Pasches, P-A-S-C-H-E, on Instagram.